A very good morning. It's just past 8 this Friday morning and it's time again for the breakfast show. I'm Rukma and it's time now to take over the next 1 hour. We take you through the major happenings from across India and the world, news from Parliament, latest updates from the sudden deluge in Gujarat's Vadodara and inclement weather in other parts as well. Also the top stories from the world of business and sports and newspaper headlines published from the national capital, New Delhi. But first, the top stories. Productive session continues in Parliament with 17 more bills to be passed. 19 bills already passed by both houses. National Medical Commission Bill in Rajya Sabha with amendments. Lok Sabha clears POCSO Amendment Bill and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Two dead as heavy rains lead to flash floods in Vadodara and Gujarat. NDRF, Army and state agencies rescue more than 4,400 people. BJP expels Kuldeep Sengar, accused in Unnao rape case from the party. Supreme Court orders 25 lakh rupees compensation for the victim and transfers all 5 cases to Delhi. Asks the trial to be completed in 45 days. July GST collections rise by 5.8% over the same month last year. Over rupees 1 lakh crores collected as gross revenue for the month, with domestic component of GST from April to July growing by 9.2%. In international news, the United States to impose 10% tariffs on $300 billion worth of Chinese goods. President Donald Trump announces fresh tariffs from 1st September and says he looks forward to a comprehensive trade deal between the two countries. North Korea conducts third weapons test in a week. South Korea convenes emergency security meeting, while United Nations condemns the missile launch, urging Pyongyang to take concrete steps towards denuclearization. US President Donald Trump calls the tests as very standard. In sports, England trailed by 274 runs at stumps on day 1 in the first Ashes Test. Smith scores 144 to take Australia to 284 in its first innings at Birmingham. And welcome once again. In our top story, the National Medical Commission Bill was passed by the Rajya Sabha on Thursday with amendments. The main objective of the bill is to regulate medical education and services in the country and ensure that corruption is weeded out from all levels. It seeks to make medical education both affordable and inclusive, with common entrance and exit exams for students and professionals.
Landmark moments for medical education in the country in the Rajya Sabha. The National Medical Commission Bill 2019 clearing the upper house hurdle with certain amendments. It will return to the Lok Sabha for passage in amended form, and then presidential assent will make it a law. The aim of the bill is to better regulate medical education, address fees and financial irregularities, and improve the overall standard of medical services in the country. On Thursday, Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan tabled the bill in the Rajya Sabha. He said the NMC takes forward the zero-tolerance policy of the Modi government towards corruption. After the discussion, the Health Minister gave his reply and assured the House that concerns raised by the Indian Medical Association will be resolved and medical students will not face any hurdles.
मैं देश के अंदर सारे मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स को, सारे एस्पायरिंग जो डॉक्टर्स बनना चाहते हैं उनको, और जो डॉक्टरी पेशे के अंदर काम कर रहे हैं, और इंडियन मेडिकल एसोसिएशन के सदस्यों को भी, सबको मैं ये विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूँ। इसलिए देश के किसी भी डॉक्टर को कोई भी किसी किस्म का शक शुबा नहीं होना चाहिए। ये जो बदलाव है ये उनकी ज़िंदगी के अंदर एक बेहतरीन बदलाव लाने वाला है, जिसको क्वालिटेटिवली क्वांटिटेटिवली परसीव भी किया जा सकेगा, आने वाले वर्षों में मेजर भी किया जा सकेगा।
The bill mandates NEET exam for entry into all medical colleges. There will be a common exit exam called NEXT to practice or pursue postgraduate education. The bill has a provision for constitution of 4 autonomous boards. These boards will look after issues related to undergraduate education, postgraduate education, assessment and accreditation of institutions, and registration of practitioners. The Medical Council of India has been facing charges of corruption for a long time. There have been CBI inquiries in the matter too. There was need to overhaul the manner in which medical education and practice is regulated in the country. This led to the vision of a new body called the National Medical Commission. With Parliament Team, DD News.
And in a landmark move, the lower house of Parliament passed the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Amendment Bill 2019, making laws on sexual crimes against children more stringent. Rajya Sabha has already passed the bill on the 24th of July. The amendment has not only increased the duration and severity of punishment for culprits, it has also included the death penalty for heinous sexual crimes against children. Parliament also gave its approval to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2019 with the aim of benefiting shareholders and resolving insolvency in companies and among individuals in a time-bound manner. The bill has already been passed by the upper house. Responding to a question during the discussion, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the main objective of the bill is to resolve issues of outstanding debts in a time-bound manner. Taking a step towards environment conservation, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla made an appeal to members of the House to make financial transactions paperless. He asked members to take Digital India forward and make cashless payments while availing canteen and other facilities. And the Unlawful Activities Prevention Amendment Bill 2019, the Repealing and Amending Bill 2019 and the Code on Wages 2019 will be taken up by the Rajya Sabha for consideration and passing during the day today. All the three bills have already been passed by the Lok Sabha. Meanwhile, in the Lok Sabha, the Jallianwala Bagh National Memorial Act 1951, the Dam Safety Bill 2019 and the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority of India Amendment Bill 2019 will be taken into consideration and passing. And Sudhakar Das, our correspondent, now joins us on the phone line for more. Sudhakar, a very productive day in Parliament yesterday. Today too, it is likely to proceed smoothly. It is likely to take up a lot of business and complete a lot of business in the House. Clearly, MPs across the board, responding to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call at the beginning of the session.
जी बिल्कुल रुकमा, और खास तौर से ये अगर इस पूरे सत्र की बात करें तो एक तरह से रिकॉर्ड काम हो रहा है। रोज जो तय समय से ज्यादा समय तक तमाम दलों के सांसद बैठ रहे हैं, और एक तरह से प्रधानमंत्री ने जब सत्र की शुरुआत में सभी दलों से, खासतौर से विपक्षी दलों से जब अपील की थी कि एक तरह से इस पूरे सत्र को प्रोडक्टिव बनाना है, तो उसका भी असर दिख रहा है। तो हमको पता है कि इस पूरे सत्र में कल तक 19 बिल दोनों सदनों से पास हो चुके हैं। तो ये एक तरह का रिकॉर्ड है, और पिछले 2-2.5 दशकों में इस तरह का माहौल संसद के भीतर कभी नजर नहीं आया था, और इसी वजह से सत्र को सरकार ने एक्सटेंड भी किया, उसका विस्तार भी किया, और लगातार कल भी 3 बिल, अगर लोकसभा की बात की जाए तो 3 विधेयक लोकसभा में पास हुए जो पहले से ही राज्यसभा में पास हो गए थे। तो ये इस तरह से लगातार जो कानून बनाने की जो प्रक्रिया है वो काफी आगे बढ़ रही है, और प्रोडक्टिविटी अगर इस सेशन की बात की जाए तो वो करीब 135% के करीब पहुंच गई है, जो पिछले कई वर्षों में नहीं हो पाया था। हालांकि सरकार के एजेंडे में अभी कई और विधेयक हैं, 17 और विधेयक सरकार इस पूरे सेशन में पास कराना चाहती है। आज शुक्रवार है, इसके बाद 3 और दिन बचेंगे, मतलब सिर्फ 4 दिन और बचे हैं इस सत्र में। तो इसलिए काफी कह सकते हैं एक तरह से महत्वाकांक्षी एजेंडा है, लेकिन जिस तरह से दोनों सदनों में 3-3 बिल पास हो रहे हैं, तो उस लिहाज से कहा जा सकता है कि सरकार अपने लक्ष्य में सफल हो सकती है, और एक तरह से एक रिकॉर्ड जरूर बनाएगा ये पूरा सत्र जब इस सत्र का समापन होगा, कानून बनाने के लिहाज से, बिलों को पास करने के लिहाज से। और सिर्फ इतना ही नहीं है, जो तमाम सांसद हैं उनको ज्यादा से ज्यादा अपनी बात रखने का मौका दिया जा रहा है, चाहे 0 आवर हो या अन्य मौकों के जरिए हो। पूरे संसद को पेपरलेस बनाने की बात की जा रही है, कैशलेस बनाने के लिए जो तमाम प्रक्रियाएं हैं, चाहे ऑनलाइन भुगतान की बात हो या जो तमाम जो कैश सांसदों से भी लोकसभा अध्यक्ष ने अपील की है। तो इस तरह की जो तमाम नई चीजें इस नई सरकार में मोदी सरकार के दूसरे कार्यकाल में वो दिख रही हैं। तो ये कह सकते हैं कि बहुत सकारात्मक माहौल और बहुत बड़ा मैसेज पूरे देश से संसद की तरफ से जा रहा है।
Right, Sudhakar, we'd also like your thoughts on the passage of the NMC bill. All eyes had been on that bill. It's a bill that's expected to have a very long-standing impact.
जी बिल्कुल, देखिए MCI एक तरह से जो मेडिकल काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया था, एक वक्त में करप्शन का पर्याय बन गया था और इसको लेकर जो तमाम अदालतों में कई मुकदमे लंबित थे। सुप्रीम कोर्ट की सख्त टिप्पणियां MCI को लेकर आई थी। इसके मुखिया तक जेल का सामना करना पड़ा था। अभी भी CBI और तमाम मामलों में जांच चल रही है। उसके बाद जो पूरी जो ये करप्शन एक तरह से भाई भतीजावाद की स्थिति थी, उसको खत्म करने के लिए जो NMC बिल वो सरकार लेके आई है और काफी ऐतिहासिक बिल है। MCI को खत्म करने के बाद फिलहाल एक बोर्ड ऑफ गवर्नर्स उसकी पूरी गतिविधियों पर नजर रख रहा है पिछले 1.5-2 साल से। अगर लेकिन पिछले 1.5-2 साल में जो पूरे इस क्षेत्र में खासतौर से मेडिकल एजुकेशन के क्षेत्र में पारदर्शिता की अगर बात की जाए तो जो 40,000 सीट थी MCI जब तक अस्तित्व में था, उसके बाद बोर्ड ऑफ गवर्नर्स के आने के बाद 35,000 सीटें बढ़ाई जा सकी हैं, क्योंकि एक पारदर्शिता एक तरह से आई है, रेगुलेट किया जा सका है। तो एक तरह से जो हायर कोर्सेज हैं, सुपर स्पेशलिटी कोर्सेज हैं और नए कोर्सेज की संख्या बढ़ाई गई है, सीट्स की संख्या बढ़ाई गई है और ये सब बिना किसी करप्शन के, बिना किसी भ्रष्टाचार के हो रहा है। और NMC अब जगह लेगा जो नेशनल मेडिकल काउंसिल है वो, और एक तरह से इसमें भी ये एक स्वायत्त संस्था की तरह काम भी करेगी और इसमें चूंकि जो प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, जो चिकित्सा क्षेत्र के जो प्रोफेशनल्स हैं वो रहेंगे, तो वो मुनासिब तरीके से इस पूरी क्षेत्र को आगे बढ़ा सकेंगे। हमको पता है कि सरकार पूरे देश में 1.5 लाख करीब हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर खोलना चाहती है। उसकी प्रक्रिया काफी आगे बढ़ी है। आयुष्मान भारत के जरिए देश का, दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा एक तरह से स्वास्थ्य कार्यक्रम जो चलाया जा रहा है, 5 लाख रुपए तक का इंश्योरेंस जो गरीबों को दिया जा रहा है, 50 करोड़ लोग इससे फायदेमंद हैं। तो इस तरह के जो तमाम चीजों को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए एक आधार की जरूरत है और नेशनल मेडिकल कमीशन उस आधार को प्रोवाइड कराएगा और चिकित्सकों की जो जरूरत है उस जरूरत को पूरा करने में वो सफल हो सकेगा। तो कह सकते हैं एक तरह से काफी ऐतिहासिक विधेयक है। राज्यसभा, लोकसभा से ये पास हो चुका था, राज्यसभा में पास हुआ। हालांकि सरकार ने अपनी तरफ से कुछ संशोधन पेश किए थे, इस वजह से ये दोबारा लोकसभा में जाएगा, जहां पास होने में इसको किसी तरह की कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। तो एक ऐतिहासिक पहल सरकार की तरफ से। उपमा?
Right, Sudhakar. Well, thank you very much for joining us there and for those inputs. And well, Sudhakar Das, our correspondent, telling us about how productivity in Parliament in this session in particular has been marked at 135%, 134 to 35%. And well, key bills passed, 19 so far, and the government aiming at 17 more with just a few days left, 4 days in fact for this session to end. Well, moving on now, heavy rains have thrown life out of gear in many cities of Gujarat. At least 6 persons were killed and over 4,000 evacuated from Vadodara and surrounding areas, while roads were unusable due to waterlogging and several trains were cancelled. Operations at the Vadodara airport resumed late on Thursday evening. Most parts of the city remained inundated till late last night in spite of intensity of rain decreasing as waters of the Vishwamithri river started entering the city as it breached its banks. Several trains passing through the city were cancelled and roads in and around were submerged even late on Thursday evening. Teams of the NDRF, State Disaster Response Force, Army and Fire Brigade have been pressed into service to help stranded people. Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani held a meeting with in state capital Gandhinagar to take stock of the situation. And just as Vadodara heaved a sigh of relief after the 24-hour rainfall came to a halt yesterday, a new threat emerged as crocodiles were spotted in the waterlogged streets. In videos from different locations across Vadodara shared on Twitter, Crocodiles could be seen lurking and swimming in the flooded streets. So far, officials from the Forest Department and NGOs have rescued 3 of them. And for more updates on the situation there in Vadodara, which has been plagued by sudden deluge, flash floods, we are joined by our correspondent Bhargav Trivedi from Vadodara. Bhargav, a very good morning to you. Well, we've received those visuals there. Heavy rainfall has stopped, but give us an update on the situation as it stands now.
जी रुकमा, खास करके मैं अभी आज सुबह में बड़ौदा आया हूँ। अहमदाबाद से बड़ौदा ऑन वे आया हूँ। एक्सप्रेस हाईवे टोटल क्लियर है। अभी बारिश भी रुक गई है। बारिश रुकने के बाद यहाँ प्रशासन की ओर से कल सुबह से यहाँ रेस्क्यू करने के लिए पूरा प्रशासन डूब गया है और कल 2 लोगों की मौत हुई थी। उसमें एक आदमी की तो जो इलेक्ट्रिक शॉर्ट सर्किट है कुछ मौत हुई थी और एक की लाश मिली थी। टोटली 2 मौत हुई है। और आज सुबह से प्रशासन ने कल रात को चीफ मिनिस्टर विजय भाई रूपाणी ने फ्लड कंट्रोल गांधीनगर में एक मीटिंग किया था और रात को ही पूना से एनडीआरएफ की 2 टीमें यहाँ बड़ौदा आने के लिए रवाना हुई थी। कल देर रात बड़ौदा एनडीआरएफ की 3 टीम आ चुकी है, एयरलिफ्ट करवाई गई। वो आज सुबह से अर्ली मॉर्निंग से एनडीआरएफ की टीम पूरी काम में लग गई है। जी
Right, and what about train services in the area? We believe that many trains were cancelled and so on. What about flights too, and schools and colleges?
जी, खास करके प्रशासन की ओर से, रेल मंत्रालय की ओर से ये जो अहमदाबाद बड़ौदा वाली जो लाइन है वो टोटल क्लोज की हुई है और कुछ ट्रेनें रद्द की गई है। और स्कूल कॉलेज की बात की जाए तो स्कूल कॉलेज 2 दिन से या बड़ौदा प्रशासन ने बंद करने का आदेश दे दिया है। जी
Right, and what about people? How are they coping? Are there relief camps that have been set up? Because we do know that it's a flash flood that took place. Also, the situation after the river Vishwamitri breached its banks.
जी, खास करके विश्वामित्री में 2 दिन से जो पानी की बाढ़ आई थी तो पूरे बड़ौदा शहर में जो निचले वाला पोर्शन है उसमें जो खास करके लोगों को रेस्क्यू करके बाहर निकाला गया और कई सारी एनजीओ की ओर से और प्रशासन की ओर से लोगों को रेस्क्यू करके रिलीफ कैंप में दाखिल करवाया और एनडीआरएफ की टीम और एनजीओ के लोग शहरीजनों के साथ मिलकर लोगों को कैंप में स्थानांतरित किए गए और कल शाम तक उनको फूड पैकेट भिजवाए गए। जी
Right. Well, thank you very much, Bhargav, for joining us there and for giving us those inputs. You keep your eyes on that story. We will be back with you throughout the day for more. Our correspondent Bhargav Trivedi there speaking about how 2 people have been reported killed in the flash floods that Vadodara underwent after very heavy rainfall. Rain has stopped, but certain roads are cleared, but and 2 more teams of the NDRF have been transported, have arrived there in Vadodara for rescue work from Pune. He's also said that as far as railway lines are concerned, the Ahmedabad-Vadodara railway line has been totally shut. A number of other trains have been cancelled. Relief camps have been set up where people are being transported and evacuated by the agencies who are in charge of rescue operations as well as NGOs. Meanwhile, the flood situation in Bihar remains grim following heavy rains in the state. People were evacuated from flood-hit areas in Darbhanga following incessant rainfall. Officials were stranded as water entered the station. Over 130 people have lost their lives as floods wreaked havoc in multiple districts of the state. 13 districts have been affected due to torrential rainfall in neighboring states from the past month. Again, in Siliguri, incessant rainfall has battered tea gardens in the Terai area and the Duars region of the state. Meanwhile, National Highway 10 connecting Siliguri in West Bengal and Sikkim and National Highway 31 connecting Siliguri and the Duars in Jalpaiguri district were closed. NH10 is the lifeline of the Himalayan state of Sikkim. Siliguri received 34% of monthly rainfall in the past 5 days. The major rivers in the region like Tista, Mahananda, Balsan and Torsa are in spate and yellow warnings have been sounded. Meanwhile, in Jammu and Kashmir, the river Chenab at Kuldeep is flowing above the danger mark, posing a threat to the old existing bridge near Doda, Bhaderwa, Kishtwar junction. Water has entered homes in Kuldeep while vehicular movement has been suspended over the bridge. Many old and abandoned structures at Kuldeep are also submerged in flood waters. Doda Deputy Commissioner Dr. Sagardeep Doifode has said that the water flow is to increase due to rains in upper hilly areas. An advisory has been issued regarding further action and evacuation process. And people of Bhopal might be complaining about knee-deep water after 4 days of incessant rains, but they will thank this seasonal bounty next summer. In just 3 days, water levels in the upper lake have risen by a whopping 9 feet, buoyed by not just the downpour, but also massive influx from the catchment in Sehor since Monday. Baratalab is just 3.5 feet short of full tank level. Once it touches that, the floodgates at the Bhadbhada will be opened for the first time in 3 years. The upper lake is Bhopal's lifeline. The summer was so harsh and prolonged that the water level had dropped to its lowest in years. The upper lake provides 40% of the city's water needs and is the only man-made lake in the country, the water of which is supplied to homes. And in the latest in the Unnao case, Bharatiya Janata Party on Thursday expelled Unnao MLA Kuldeep Sengar from the party. Sengar, currently in jail, is accused of raping a minor girl from Unnao 2 years ago and killing 2 members of her family. The action against the 4-time MLA comes after the young woman and her lawyer were critically injured and 2 of her aunts were killed on Sunday when their car was hit by a speeding truck in Uttar Pradesh's Raebareli district.
राज्य सरकार उन्नाव पीड़िता के साथ खड़ी है। प्रदेश नेतृत्व ने निलंबित कर चुका है। केंद्रीय नेतृत्व ने निष्कासित कर दिया। इस समय आज की वर्तमान की स्थिति है कि कुलदीप सेंगर पार्टी से निष्कासित है।
Earlier, the Supreme Court took a stern stand on investigations into the case. The Apex Court directed the transfer of all 5 cases registered in connection with the Unnao rape incident from a court in Uttar Pradesh to a court in the national capital. CBI trial court will hear the case on day-to-day basis. The Apex Court said that the trial must be completed in 45 days. It also directed the CBI to complete the investigation of the 5th case relating to the incident in which the woman and her lawyer have been critically injured within 7 days. A bench headed by Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi made it clear that the agency can only seek extension of time for probe in the accident case in exceptional circumstances. In another direction, the Apex Court also directed the Uttar Pradesh government to provide 25 lakh rupees to the rape survivor as an interim compensation. An innovation in science pursuit for inspired research for simply called Inspire is one of the flagship programs of the Department of Science and Technology. Inspire Manak Awards being executed by Department of Science and Technology with National Innovation Foundation and aims to motivate students in the age group of 10 to 15 years. Held under the aegis of Department of Science and Technology, the Government of India and National Innovation Foundation, the nominations for online application will remain open till the 31st of August, and young minds and enthusiastic hearts are on their way to participate.
In order to inspire young minds, National Innovation Foundation, along with Department of Science and Technology, has come up with the Inspire Awards. Manak. The idea came from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Startup India project, and to give wings to the dreams of young minds, National Innovation Foundation organized the Innovation in Science Pursuit for Inspired Research, or Inspire scheme, which aims to motivate students in the age group of 10 to 15 years and studying in class 6 to 10.
बच्चों में भी इनोवेटिव स्पिरिट होती है और उनका इनोवेशन जो मन में आता है उसको प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए इंस्पायर मानक अवार्ड की शुरुआत हुई। ऐसे बच्चों को हम इनकरेजमेंट करेंगे तो बहुत सारी अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ें बाहर आएगी, क्योंकि उनकी सोच अलग होती है। हम लोग जो ज़्यादा पढ़ाई लिखाई करते हैं तो एक कंडीशनड माइंड हो जाता है, ताकि बच्चे का ऐसा नहीं होता है। तो इसलिए इसको सपोर्ट करने के लिए ये मानक तैयार किया, शुरू किया।
The objective of the scheme is to target 1 million original ideas or innovation rooted in science and societal applications to foster a culture of creativity and innovative thinking among school children.
कई इनोवेशंस ऐसे होते हैं कि जिसको ऑलरेडी दुनिया में होता है और वो इधर वो बच्चे को मालूम नहीं है, और कई बार ऐसा होता है बच्चे ने भी किसी इंटरनेट में, आजकल तो इंटरनेट सब छोटे बच्चे भी देखते हैं, तो उसी को देख के वो दोहरा रहा है। तो ऐसे एंट्रीज को पहले बाहर करना पड़ता है, फिर बाद में जो बाकी एंट्रीज है उसमें से कौन सा नावीन्यपूर्ण चीज़ है जो आज तक किसी ने सोचा नहीं था। भले हो सकता है कई बार ये इम्प्लीमेंट करना मुश्किल है, लेकिन यदि सोच एक अलग ढंग की है तो उस सोच को पहचानना ये उसमें बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होता है।
Of the 10 lakh ideas nominated, the best 1 lakh received 10,000 as Inspire Award. Subsequently, the shortlisted students participate in district level exhibition and project competition, from which further 10% projects get shortlisted for state level exhibition and project competition. 1,000 students are finally selected to showcase their innovative projects at the national level exhibition. Finally, top 60 innovative projects are incubated and displayed at the annual Festival of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. With Nishant Saurabh, Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD News, Delhi.
And the Election Commission on Thursday announced by-polls to 2 Rajya Sabha seats, including the one vacated by Samajwadi Party's Neeraj Shekhar after he joined the BJP. The other seat is from Rajasthan, where sitting BJP member Madan Lal Saini passed away. While Saini's term was to end on the 3rd of April 2024, Shekhar was to be a member of the upper house till 25th November 2020. The Election Commission has said the by-polls will be held on the 26th of August. Counting of votes will be held that same evening after the elections. And the Enforcement Directorate has attached assets worth over rupees 1.7 crores of Zahoor Ahmed Shah Watali and his family members in the case of terror financing by Hafiz Saeed, founder of Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jamaat-ud-Dawa and others. The ED had initiated the investigation under Prevention of Money Laundering Act based on charge sheets filed by NIA against Hafiz Saeed. The ED initiated investigations under PMLA based on charge sheet filed by the National Investigation Agency against Hafiz Saeed. Accused Zahoor Ahmed Shah Watali has been found to be involved in fundraising and as a financial conduit for Hurriyat leaders. And Pakistan has finally complied with the International Court of Justice's directions on granting consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. The former Indian naval officer has been on death row in Pakistan on false charges of spying and terrorism since April 2017. The Ministry of External Affairs has said that it is evaluating Pakistan's proposal and will revert through diplomatic channels.
Pakistan has finally complied with the order issued by the International Court of Justice at The Hague and granted consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. Pakistan Foreign Ministry informed the Indian High Commission in Islamabad of the decision. The Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi made it clear that it will reply to Pakistan through diplomatic channels.
We have received a proposal from Pakistan. We are at this point of time evaluating the proposal in the light of the judgment of the International Court of Justice. We will maintain communication with Pakistan in this matter through diplomatic channels.
In 2017, a Pakistani military court awarded the death sentence to retired Indian Navy officer Kulbhushan Jadhav on trumped-up spying and terrorism charges. India acted strongly and firmly against Pakistan's kangaroo court justice and asked Islamabad to grant consular access to Jadhav. But when Pakistan did not take India's request into consideration, India took the matter to the World Court. In its 17th of July 2019 order, the ICJ observed that the judgment given by the Pakistani military court violates guidelines of the Vienna Convention. The ICJ directed Pakistan to review its judgment and grant consular access to Jadhav. Pakistan has fallen in line with the World Court order 2 weeks later. With Abhishek Jha, DD News.
And joining us now is our correspondent Abhishek Jha for more on this story. Abhishek, a very good morning to you. A major diplomatic victory for India as we are granted consular access to Jadhav.
Of course, it was a major victory for Indian government when we succeeded in having consular access to Kuldeep Sengar in the light of the judgment of International Court of Justice in Vienna. The only thing that has been there, the problem has been that Pakistan is now trying to lay out certain conditions which are actually not part of the Vienna Convention or according to which India wants the consular access to Jadhav to be extended. And this is why the External Affairs Ministry and the Indian diplomats are weighing and evaluating the options as to what should be their response to Pakistan's proposal of extending consular access to Kuldeep Sengar, because Pakistan has said that one of its official.
Well, Abhishek, also take us what happens now. Take us through what happens now. What are the modalities that need to be followed now that Pakistan has granted the Indian government consular access to Jadhav? Well, we seem to have lost contact with our correspondent Abhishek there, but a major diplomatic victory for India as Pakistan finally complies with the International Court of Justice's directive to grant consular access to Jadhav. And well, moving on, President Ramnath Kovind arrived in Guinea on Thursday on the third leg of his three-nation visit to the West African region. President Kovind was accorded a ceremonial welcome with military honors at the Conakry International Airport. He was received by President of Guinea, Alpha Condé, along with other dignitaries. This is the first ever state visit by an Indian president to Guinea. And External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met Vietnam Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh in Bangkok. Today, the External Affairs Minister, who is on a visit to Thailand, yesterday met with his counterparts from several nations, including China, the UK, Japan, Indonesia and the Philippines. On the sidelines of the ASEAN-India ministerial meeting in Bangkok, Dr. Jaishankar is also scheduled to meet US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Bangkok today. And in international news, US President Donald Trump on Thursday announced that the United States will impose an additional 10% tariff on $300 billion worth of Chinese goods as he accused China of not being serious in arriving at the trade deal and failing to keep its promise to buy more American agricultural products. In a series of tweets, Trump said the new tariff, in addition to the 25% on goods worth $250 billion that was previously in place, would come into effect from the 1st of September.
Tax China on $300 billion worth of goods and products being sold into our country, and China eats it because they have to pay it, because what they do is they devalue their currency and they push money out. Our people haven't paid. As you know, we're also charging them 25% on $250 billion. So we're taking in many billions of dollars. There's been absolutely no inflation, and frankly, it hasn't cost our consumer anything. It cost China. This is their worst year in 27 years, according to yesterday's Wall Street Journal.
And North Korea fired an unidentified short-range projectile twice, making it the country's third weapons test in just over a week. North Korea released still photographs of leader Kim Jong-un overseeing the first test firing of a new type large-caliber multiple-launch guided rocket system. a day after the missiles were test-fired. South Korean presidential office convened an emergency security meeting. Meanwhile, condemning the missile launches, the United Nations has urged Pyongyang to take concrete steps towards complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization and to engage in meaningful negotiations with the US. The reaction came after UN Security Council met behind closed doors over North Korea's latest missile launches. United States President Donald Trump, on his part, however, said he was not worried about missiles being tested by North Korea, calling them very standard short-range devices. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that the United States is ready to continue diplomatic conversation with Pyongyang. North Korea launched 2 similar missiles on July 25th. And in news coming in, US President Donald Trump today expressed confidence that Pakistan and India were capable of resolving the Kashmir issue bilaterally. Replying to a question on the issue in a press briefing at the White House, President Trump said that he had discussed the issue with Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan.
India has rejected your offer of help on Kashmir. India says Kashmir is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan.
Have they accepted the offer or not? Well, that's up to, it's really up to Prime Minister Modi. And I met with Prime Minister Khan. I got along great with, I think they're fantastic people. Khan and Modi, I mean, I would imagine they can get along very well. But if they wanted somebody to intervene or to help them, and I spoke with Pakistan about that, and I spoke frankly to India about it, but that's been going on, that battle, for a long time. Long time. If I can, if they wanted me to, I would certainly intervene, yeah.
Earlier, reacting to President Trump's offer to mediate, the Ministry of External Affairs had reiterated that any outstanding issues with Pakistan would be discussed bilaterally. Ravish Kumar had tweeted that any discussion on Kashmir would be within the framework of the 1972 Shimla Agreement and the Lahore Declaration. And Abhishek Jha on the phone line now for more on this story. Abhishek, clearly the world watches as relations between the world watches latest developments in the relations between India and Pakistan. We have US President Donald Trump even offering to enter the discussion.
Okay, so Rukma, the thing is that this time when Trump has commented on a hypothetical question of if there is a possibility of Trump or America mediating between India and Pakistan and Kashmir, he has said that it's between the leaders of India and Pakistan, and Trump thinks that they are nice people, that they get along well, and the situation is such that these two leaders can sort out this issue. However, if only India or Pakistan they ask him to intervene, then they will be wanting to intervene. So this is clearly a soft stand from the earlier stand, but nevertheless, India has maintained that no third-party mediation is required, and India will never agree to any such proposal or conditions on any issue between India and Pakistan. All the issues, outstanding issues, all the issues or the differences between these two countries needs to be sorted bilaterally, and India respects that position even now, because earlier when during the Prime Minister of Pakistan's visit to USA White House, our External Affairs Ministry has clearly said it in no uncertain terms that India would not agree to any such thing, and it has been that long-standing position that all outstanding issues with Pakistan will be sorted out in a bilateral manner. So that is what India has said, and we should stick with that position that India has always maintained.
Right. Right, Abhishek. Well, President Trump too expressing confidence that India and Pakistan can discuss and resolve all issues between them bilaterally.
So exactly, and Rukma, also the question was asked to the US President that whether India has rejected the offer of help on Kashmir. So he clearly said that Indian Prime Minister and Pakistani Prime Minister, if only they ask USA to intervene, then only he will be intervening in this situation. Otherwise, there is no team that US is going to intervene in this whole situation. If one party asks or if somebody asks, and we know that India has long maintained its stand on this issue that it's never going to agree or never going to ask or never going to seek any third party involvement between any outstanding issues between India and Pakistan, and all the issues, all the differences, all the ambiguity that prevails in any form between these two countries will need to be sorted out in a bilateral manner. And India has always said that those bilateral discussions can happen anytime. But the only condition India has always put is that Pakistan needs to stop the menace of cross-border terrorism, and then only there will be a situation that can facilitate any talk between India and Pakistan. So that has been the position of India, and Ministry of External Affairs has always maintained and reiterated its position on the issues between India and Pakistan, that no third-party involvement is required, and India always would like to have everything sorted out bilaterally with Pakistan.
Right, so can we say that President Trump is reiterating what India has always maintained for years as far as the Kashmir issue is concerned, that it is India's internal matter and it is an issue that can be resolved with proper talks? Of course, Pakistan has to fulfill a number of conditions as India has always maintained.
Rukma, exactly. India has long maintained, like ever since there has been wars and there has been differences, there has been good time or bad time between the relationships between these two neighbors. But there has always been a thing of clarity that no third-party involvement will be accepted as far as India is concerned in the issues that are outstanding between India and Pakistan. And when Imran Khan was in White House recently, and President Trump offered that those remarks saying that he wants to, there can be an involvement of USA in India-Pakistan issues. So even me reiterated and clearly said that there is no such offer, there is no such proposal, there is no dilution of India's stand whatsoever as far as it is between India and Pakistan. All issues should be sorted out bilaterally. And even now, when President Trump has had some remarks yesterday, he said that India and Pakistan needs to sort out issues bilaterally, and he kind of appreciated the leadership of India and said that Mr. Modi is a fantastic, they're fantastic people and they are getting along well, and he hopes that these issues will be sorted out bilaterally. And he did not say anything that he wants to, mingle with the issue directly or unless until some situation rises like that. Yeah.
Right, Abhishek. Well, thank you very much for joining us there and for giving us those inputs. And well, it's time now for the latest news from the world of business and finance. My colleague Arun Sharma joins us on the show with all the latest.
Thanks, Rukma, and let's begin with the top story that's on GST. Now, the GST collections in July 2019 has surpassed the 1 lakh crore mark. The total collections under the goods and services tax was reported to be 1.02 lakh crore rupees in July 2019. Now, this is a year-on-year growth of 5.8% over the revenue of 96,483 crore rupees reported in July 2018. The gross GST collections during April to July stood at 4,16,176 crore rupees. Now, this is up from 3,89,568 crore rupees in the corresponding period of the last fiscal. And Maharashtra has granted infrastructure project status for a $10 billion plan to build the world's first ultra-fast Hyperloop project, now aiming to link the financial hub of Mumbai with the neighboring city of Pune. Proposed as a replacement to existing rail infrastructure, Hyperloops uses magnet to levitate pods inside an ALS tube, creating conditions in which the pods can shuttle people and freight at speed of up to 1200 kilometers per hour. And Tata Motors has slashed its electric vehicles price by up to 80,000 rupees following government's decision to bring down the GST on electric vehicles to 5%. Now, as of now, Tata Motors offers Tigor EV in the domestic market. The price reduction will be applicable across all the variants of Tigor EV. Last week, the GST Council announced slashing of the GST rate on EVs to 5% from 12% to boost the sales of electric vehicles in the country. Well, so that's it in today's finance world. But for other news, back to you, Rukma.
Well, thank you very much, Arun, for that update from the world of finance. Time now for some sports news. England trailed by 274 runs at stumps on day one in the first Ashes test. Steve Smith marked his first test since completing a 12-month ban for his role in a ball tampering scandal with a superb century to rescue Australia on the opening day of the Ashes series on Thursday. Australia were in dire straits against England in Birmingham at 122 for 8, but their last two wickets more than doubled the score, and Smith was last man out for 144 in a total of 284. Rory Burns and Jason Roy then survived 2 overs as the hosts ended the day at 10 for no loss. And let's now take a look at the top stories published in the newspapers from the national capital. Well, while most newspapers have focused on the latest in the Unnao rape case, and on the Unnao rape case, we've selected to begin with the Economic Times, which talks about how record 2.54 lakh crore rupees worth of bad loan write-off has given a facelift to NPA profiles of banks. It says bad loans have been reduced from a peak of 11.5% in March 2018 to 9.3% in March 2019, and it has made a huge difference as far as NPAs are concerned. It's also a very significant day as far as the Ayodhya issue is concerned, and we've picked this story from the Indian Express, which says that Ayodhya mediation panel submits report SC to take a call today. It has a picture of mediation panel member Shri Ravi Shankar in New Delhi on Thursday to attend this hearing, as we mentioned. And well, another interesting article in the Indian Express on the editorial page is about a step for gender justice. It says the law that criminalizes instant talaq is framed by constitutional morality, and it talks about how it is a major step towards gender justice as the Constitution has promised. And also in sports, as the countdown for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics begins, we have this very interesting article from the Times of India in the Times Sports page about how India's table tennis team says we have a very strong chance of winning an Olympic medal. And well, let's move on now. Here's to our Good News India section. Here's a very inspiring story from just a 10-year-old. He's giving all of us a very important message, that is to save our environment by simply planting more trees. Here's how he's doing it.
This is Arav, a student of 5th standard and hails from Gurugram. He's involved in a very unique and has achieved success in it too. Let's hear from him about it.
अभी तो हमने उगाए हैं 5000 seeds plus और उनमें से 1000 उग गए हैं और कुछ अभी उगेंगे और कुछ भी ऐसा हो सकता है कि नहीं उगे. पहले कहते थे ये क्यों कर रहे हो और अब कहते हैं अब दे देते हैं ऐसे.
In this task, Arav is not alone. He's supported by his family and dear ones.
इसको आम खाते हुए हुआ कि ये गुठली का क्या करेंगे, हम क्यों फेंकते हैं, इससे हो सकता है कि पेड़ बन जाए. हमने कहा बेटा बिल्कुल बनेगा इससे पेड़. तो हमने कहा क्या करना चाहिए, तो कहता इस बीज को मैं लगा के देखता हूँ. तो हमने कहा लगाओ. तो हमारे घर के पीछे ही छोटा सा मैदान था, वहाँ पे इस बच्चे ने बीज कुछ लगाए और धीमे धीमे उसमें देखा कि बच्चा पेड़ निकलना शुरू हो गया. तो उसने कहा ये मैं और भी इकट्ठा कर सकता हूँ। मैंने कहा बिल्कुल कर सकते हो बेटा, आप करो। तो हमने उसको प्रोत्साहन दिया कि आप और इकट्ठा करो। तो इसने कॉम्प्लेक्स में अपने बात की, जहाँ हम रहते हैं अपने, वहाँ पे बाकी दोस्तों के कॉम्प्लेक्सेस में बात की, स्कूल में बात की, तो उन्होंने सबने इसको बड़ा प्रोत्साहित किया। करीब 7,000 ज़्यादा गुठलियाँ इकट्ठा हो चुकी हैं इस समय। और अभी हमको क्या है कि जो भी कॉम्प्लेक्सेस, रेसिडेंशियल कॉम्प्लेक्स वाले कहते हैं कि उनको पेड़ चाहिए हैं, तो वो हम उनसे उनका नाम नोट कर ले, जैसे जैसे पौधा बनता जाएगा उनके यहाँ भिजवा देंगे। सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोत्साहन दिया है हमको यहाँ के गुड़गांव एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने, यहाँ के डीसी साहब है, खत्री साहब। उन्होंने कहा है कि जितनी भी आप इसमें पौधे निकलेंगे आप उनको दे दें, और वो हरियाणा फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट के थ्रू इसको अरावली हिल्स में लगाएंगे।
When RF came and he said that, I need mango seeds and I'm going to grow plants out of them and plant them and grow trees. We were curious, my kids were excited, Every day in our house, for almost 2 weeks, this was happening, that my kids were eating mangoes. They were picking up seeds, washing them up. In fact, there was a time I used to feel कि क्या कर रहे हो, you're making everything dirty or you're not doing it properly. But they were so excited.
It is being hoped that these seeds will tomorrow be able to give rise to a brighter story. Tumul Kakkar's report from Gurugram for Good News India, DD News.
And time now for the weather update. And that brings us to the end of this edition of The Breakfast Show. As we go, we'll leave you with glimpses of mask dance performances by Buddhists at Leh, marking the conclusion of the 2-day annual Phyang Monastery Festival. Take a look and enjoy. Namaskar.